There's another lie that there's only one window that faces the Earth and it's filled up with the TV camera, meaning the lens would have to be right up against the window to see that. But the camera's really at the back of the spacecraft with all the lights off.
Let's play
You're
that.
You're seeing part of the Earth outside of the window. It's very ingenious.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Factor Fugazi here at 3 Shades of Whatever. We got another fun topic, a very controversial topic here. The moon landing. Now, look, we're not going to get deep into every little aspect of the moon landing. We're going to tackle like one piece here and there because there's far too much to go through, and it'll be a 2-hour video. So we're going to try to keep it short, talk about separate little issues. And we have one very famous man talking about, actually, I should say Greg's favorite man talking about the moon and why we didn't go. So I'm going to toss it over to Greg. Hey, here you go.
You know, I don't want to come off too bad. I want to come off in the beginning and explain my, what happened to me, and so a lot of
this
people.
This is going to be fun, everybody.
a lot of people for a while, like on the Joe Rogan podcast, I saw Bart Sibrel. That is his name, Bart Sibrel. Say it with me now. Bart Sibrel.
Bart Sibrel.
Anyway,
Greg loves him.
I saw the moon landing episode of him on Joe Rogan talk about how the moon landing's fake. So who is Bart Sibrel? Bart Sibrel is a guy who made a documentary and wrote books about how the moon landing was fake.
Are you sure?
I saw the episode. When I first saw it, I was like, it's interesting. I don't buy things. I have a science background. I'm not a big, I don't just buy what people say. When I see things on YouTube, I need to verify things. I need to look things up. So I found him to be, I found him to be, many people do not do that. They just.
I understand that, but that's why I said as you should. They should, but they don't. They're like, I heard it must be real.
You serious?
So, yeah, I kind of ignored it. I said, I don't think he's, some of the points he made, I was like, oh, that might be true. Van Allen belts, this, that, and the other thing. Then I started seeing
that
it. That
always had me messed up too, for real.
Then I started seeing it progress, and then a lot of people think it's fake. So, and one person was Candace Owens, who propagates that. She actually says, actual quote, "There's no way you could convince me we went to the moon."
The moon landing. I just can't get behind it. I can't believe it happened.
I do want to preface this by saying there was a point in time where I believed it to be a fake thing. Okay. And that's because I saw a documentary back in the year 2000 on Fox, which was actually I think it was co-produced by Bart Sibrel, on how they faked it and all the stuff that they showed. And it seemed valid at the time because I was young and didn't do any research and just figured that they knew what they were saying until you actually do the research, where we're going now.
Basically, all I'm going to say is if you do 10 minutes, I'm being dead serious. If you take 10 minutes out of your life and go do research on reasons why the moon landing is real.
Real research, not confirmation bias research.
Right. You should easily find, if you, with simple basic skills, that the moon landing was absolutely real. Say it with me now.
Say it loud.
So one of Bart Sibrel's arguments is that we cannot get past the Van Allen belts, which this episode is not Van Allen belts. This episode is not about
but
that.
I will say this. That was one of my biggest contentions on why we didn't go because of what I was told during that stupid documentary that I watched. The radiation is so strong that anybody without 6 feet of lead can't get through it. Turns out false, but I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing that Bart Sibrel is saying is we can't get past the Van Allen belts. So that on Apollo 11 that we, the Americans, the astronauts, faked being halfway to the moon.
And that's where we're at here.
So basically there's footage of them looking at the moon, looking at the Earth from 100,000 miles away. And Bart Sibrel claims that they faked it by only uncovering a small part of the circle on the window in the spaceship. And that they just basically faked the whole thing. Yeah. Now,
anybody who didn't skip the intro got to see what him actually saying that. But
so there's a channel I came across. Now I did research on it. I tried to find.
Pause.
I found a bunch of stuff on it, but the one guy that really has every single angle covered on this, his name is Dave McKeegan. He made a video called Exposing the Lies of Bart Sibrel, and what he does
That's a man's name, Dave McKeegan.
McKeegan. He breaks down all of the lies in Bart Sibrel, and he has him like, it's over an hour long, and he has him like, you know, he has them timestamped and everything. It's a great video. Go watch it. But what we are going to focus on here is just Bart Sibrel's claims that we faked being halfway to the moon and how we faked being halfway to the moon and why and what I'm going to present that it's absolute bullshit. Now, it'll be very simple to see. And once you see, the reason why I chose this argument is because once you break down the crux of his argument with this particular topic, then the rest of it dies. So,
yeah, it becomes flimsy. Like, it's like if you have something that you stand so strong out on that is so wrong, what else are you so sure of that isn't true as well?
So I'm going to play this first video, and this is Bart Sibrel's claim.
Well, on the left, Neil Armstrong claims this is 130,000 miles out. He claims that the camera lens is at the glass, and that's the Earth floating in space. What's on the right-hand side are the outtakes that we got an unedited reel of the special effects shot by accident.
Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day.
So, again, just before I play anything else, look at just ask yourself, instead of being I'm going to believe or disbelieve, just objectively ask yourself, what does that Earth just look like in that window? Let's prove or disprove it. Like, is it possible that, think about it, what would happen if you actually just uncovered a little tiny circle of a window? You have a circular window, and then they let a little bit of the Earth, they covered everything up, a little bit of the Earth show. What would it look like? Like, think about that for a second. Like, exactly.
It would most likely be one solid color. Because if you're only focusing on a certain part of the Earth, you might get a little bit of a cloud in there, but you have to think. It's like you have something this big, right, in front of your face. Then you'd put a piece of paper over it and only put out a little dot of it, right? You're not going to see all the details that you see here. You would have more of a solid-looking color because you're only getting a little tiny section of what we're talking about, especially if they're as close to the Earth as they're actually trying to speculate, saying we were much closer. Well, how much closer are we talking? Because if we're only able to go so many miles above the Earth's crust, we're only seeing Earth. So you're only going to get a little dot of that. It's not going to make sense.
Right. So to me, when I look at that, if they're really just saying that they're only uncovering a small part of the window, to me, when you look at this Earth's image, it looks like a whole Earth with little tiny cloud formations.
Yes.
If you're in Earth's orbit, like you said, you're going to get this tiny section of it, but it's not going to be like a facade of a whole Earth. You're going to get a cloud. You're going to get some
exactly right. You're only going to get little tiny pieces. You might see a little section of water. You might see a little section of greenery with like some hills or some shit. You're going to see something different. That's going to be a lot closer as well in the picture.
And then the other issue,
I just don't see it.
The other issue is you're going to be moving. When you're in Earth's orbit, there's going to be scenery changes in that.
It'll be a lot faster.
So if you're really in Earth's orbit uncovering a small circle, you're going to see pieces of clouds moving by. In the footage that they show, I see a still ass Earth with a whole outline of different clouds and everything. And I would have believed the argument if Bart Sibrel was smart enough, which he's not. I would have believed the argument that they would have put a little picture there because at least it looks. Not that it's just uncovered, but let's move forward.
Yeah, like that's the best idea you can come up with. Like, look, that's the part that really crawls in my ass a little bit, okay? That's the best you think they could come up with to make a special effect to prove that they went to the moon was to take a piece of paper or cloth and put it over the friggin' window? Like, that's the best they could come up with? Let's go into the theory that they were able to shoot and film all of this. That's the best they could come up with?
It's kind of
That sounds
ridiculous.
like nonsense to me.
Let's see some more.
On the left, he claims, and this is the part they showed to the public, that that's the Earth floating in space halfway to the moon looking back.
Okay.
And then on the right is the outtakes where the lights come up and you see that the camera's really at the back of the spacecraft, and that's part of the Earth outside of a circular window.
They're using the darkness of the cabin by blocking out all the windows,
and it
makes
looks
it look like it's space.
Exactly. It makes it look like the Earth is floating in space.
Say it ain't
we
so,
have
Joe.
them faking being halfway to the moon, which means they cannot go.
Which means they cannot go, Greg.
So all I'm going to say, when he says, which means we cannot, how does he think that's proven anything? But you know what?
It's not.
Let's go forward here, okay? So let's look at another video. So this video is going to show, again, this is all from Dave McKeegan's video because he has all the evidence there. This video is going to show an example of what it looks like in Earth's low orbit that he's saying that we're in. Bart Sibrel is referencing Apollo 11 that he's faking this footage. Around 20 to 30 minutes later, the astronauts go back to the window and start filming the Earth again. It actually shows the Earth 20 to 30 minutes later slightly rotated, just like it would.
And smaller.
Okay, let's play another video here.
It's got to be smaller too, right?
Depends on how fast they were going.
True.
Now look at low Earth orbit. Look at how
That's
you
my
would
point.
be moving.
That's my point.
So
You would see all that shit going by fast in the picture.
look at that would be an example of a circular window. What it would look like. Look at that little arrow pointing out of it. That's what it would look
Making
like.
my point.
That looks like a whole ass Earth.
It does. Yeah, you see, look, the clouds are different. It's rotated just the right amount in that
Look
amount
at
of
that.
time. See, boom.
Look at that.
Just look at it. Just look at it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So we're already there. You see that the change in it. That's just math. If you don't understand math, then you just go ahead and believe your little fugazi bullshit. But in this instance, for this episode, I fully believe that this is not fugazi, that this was an actual fact of a picture that they took. About, however, friggin' many miles from the Earth. So if the moon's like, what, 250,000 miles away? So they're, say, 125,000 roughly?
Let's see some more.
There's another lie that there's only one window that faces the Earth and it's filled up with the TV camera, meaning the lens would have to be right up against the window to see that. But the camera's really at the back of the spacecraft with all the lights off.
Let's play
You're
that.
seeing part of the Earth outside of the window. It's very ingenious.
It's very ingenious. It's very ingenious.
Pause it. Why? Explain to me for 1 second. Why would they need to press the camera right up against the window? Oh, they have it only. That's part of the fake because they have. Who gives a shit where the camera is positioned?
Well,
what the hell does that have to do with anything?
It doesn't. So basically, all he really did, and I'm going to prove this. Actually, Dave McKeegan proved it, but I'm going to. I like disseminating. I like disseminating his information because the world needs to hear it. Anyway, all he did, and what a lot of like pseudoscientists / journalists who make money doing these things, they find things. He cherry picked that video because,
well, of course, you want something that's going to kind of make your claims valid.
He could poke holes in it. Like he could just poke these arbitrary holes that you can make an argument. But I'm going to show you,
like the hole in the cloth they used to take the picture of the moon.
I'm going to show you more proof that this whole thing is fugazi.
You could comply. We'd like
Man,
to
get out of here. That's the whole Earth, bro.
Up there. If you could give us some interior views, I'm sure everybody'd like to see you over.
So the point to that was, listen to the astronauts. They ask him, "Hey, you're showing us the Earth. Do you think the people are going to want to see you, the astronauts? So why don't you try to show you guys?" So basically, they zoom out, step back from the window, and then change the lighting on the lens, and they reconfigure the lighting. So then what happens is the lighting changes. You could start seeing the room as opposed to just the window. It's a simple thing.
For anybody that doesn't know, that's done through apertures.
So there's even like commentary, like transcripts of this conversation. So again, I'll show you right here.
Apollo 11, Houston, appears to us that we're seeing a view from outside, plus a little of the of the inside. It appears you've taken the camera away from the left window. Now, over. That's correct. We're moving it back and reconfiguring for interior lighting. Roger.
Where is all this stuff? There's literally in text. We moved it away from the window to configure for interior lighting. And and it just doesn't stop there, okay? So here, this next clip, is going to contain, so just so people know, there was a lot of Apollo missions. There was also a lot of Gemini missions, okay? They were all done to gather different information, especially when it comes to Van Allen belts and all that stuff. We're not getting into that here. We're just trying to disprove this one claim. So Apollo 10 was like a dress rehearsal where they went all the way to the moon, went into the orbit of the moon, and came back. They did not land on the moon because the whole landing on the moon part is actually the most difficult part. We could get there, go and, whatever. But we're trying to gather some information. So this is footage from the Apollo 10 mission showing the Earth and the moon.
Not only did they show us the Earth out of the window, but they then spun the camera round to the opposite window to show us the moon, and showing that the moon was bigger than the Earth. So they must have been closer to the moon than they were to the Earth.
For me, I think it would have been a better argument for Bart Sibrel and the moon landing hoaxers to say that maybe this footage was done with a satellite. You know what I mean? The people weren't actually there. They took a satellite out and took this footage. But to come up with the claim that they used cloth to cover the window, it's just so nonsense. Like, why wouldn't they come up with? Why wouldn't you think maybe a satellite went out and took these pictures? Because it's obviously a real picture of the Earth.
Hey, don't forget they put a little crescent thing there. It was ingenious. Remember, they said the crescent thing to make it look.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
Earth
To cover the Earth, it's like cloth or something. They said dark cloth. It's ridiculous.
I love how Bart Sibrel calls that ingenious. He's calling his fake idea very ingenious just so he cons you into thinking like, well, no, I actually think what these people did are very smart, but they're ingenious.
Yeah,
now,
that would be terribly stupid to do it that way, in my opinion.
Now, this footage is from Apollo 11, the same exact mission. The first, that was the first one to land on the moon, right?
The first landing, correct.
So this is from the same exact mission at a different point in time, where the Earth is actually not in the center of the window. It's not even a circular window. It's actually a square window, by the way. But I digress. Yeah. It actually shows the Earth at different points in the window coming in and out. If you actually watch this and you still think that with Bart Sibrel that we faked being halfway to the moon because we can't get past the Van Allen belts, and you watch this and you don't think that he's crazy, then there's something wrong with you. But I'll just play it anyway.
But during this broadcast, the windows are uncovered, with sunlight being able to get into the cabin. And towards the end, we once again are shown a view of the Earth.
I was about to say,
when it
you just saw the window frame covered a little bit.
Clearly see the window frame and the interior cabin.
Look, it's coming in and out.
Still in view.
Yeah, and you see the shadow's still there, and it's moving.
Look at the Earth.
Just pause it. That's plenty. Because look, I'm gonna refute the whole thing right now. Here you go, Mr. Sibrel. I hope you see this. Doubt you will, but I hope you do. Because if you have a piece of cloth or whatever they use to cover the freaking Earth, right? When that window moves, the cloth would move with it, right?
That's fine. I think that's fair.
That ruins the whole thing to me. His whole argument is trash because of what just happened. By me seeing that window covering part of the Earth and the shadow on the Earth never changing, his whole theory on how they did it is fugazi as hell.
Well, okay, so you're referencing this video. But here's the thing. He never publicly even looks at that video. So he never talked. So this is not a video that Bart Sibrel
So yeah, like you said, he cherry-picked the one that would kind of help his argument.
No one, at least I didn't see it, and I don't know what he would say to it. The point is that he actually did comment on his video. Bart Sibrel commented on Dave McKeegan's video, and he said all he said was, it seemed like you missed the most compelling parts, and reposted the Joe Rogan podcast in his thing. He didn't argue anything. So the point is, Dave McKeegan shows this Apollo 11 footage that's 2 hours prior to the broadcast footage, and shows that clearly it's not a manipulated thing because you could see the Earth coming in and out of the square window. Kills his whole argument. I never
agree.
seen Bart
But
Sibrel.
again,
Bart Sibrel doesn't respond to that.
Yeah, what I just said, though, what I just said ruins Bart Sibrel's entire argument. Because if they're still holding a camera, like, because the second camera, like the second footage we see where the window's moving, say that's somebody holding a camera, right? Now the guy's got it in his hand. And there's still another one transfixed with their cloth or whatever they have, right? That shadow wouldn't be there. There's so many things that take away. That shadow would have to move. It couldn't just not be there. You know what I mean? Like if you have a square window again, and the camera's moving around, and now you're seeing part of the earth, and then you're seeing part of the earth,
wouldn't,
but the shadow never moves.
Yeah, no, right. I get it. I get what you're saying.
That's impossible. You can't do that. Like something that's fixed, you could put the shadow there and then you're good. Like the other video, I could see him trying to say what he's saying. But after seeing what we just saw, seeing the window moving around in and out of the earth, but the shadow on the earth never changes a centimeter. It ruins his whole point.
The whole earth doesn't change a centimeter. And that's why I don't know how.
Exactly.
I don't know how Joe Rogan doesn't look at, and we could get in. I like Joe Rogan. I love
Joe Rogan, but sometimes he's not always right.
I like having conversations.
Shit,
but when it comes to the scientific world, Joe Rogan is lost. He's lost, and we could get into other things, and that's fine. But he gets lost with whole like pseudo archaeology. He buys people's stories just because you like a story. Again, they're fun stories to hear. But when you get down to
I'm not even saying that everything he's had on there and believed is Fugazi. I mean, I know you think a lot of it is. That's where you and I differ.
Not
a lot
everybody.
A lot of
no,
things,
not everybody. So when he goes into the
but you know what I mean. Like certain things that they talk about, I like to take my mind and think about it more, even though there's pseudo archaeology. I mean, I shouldn't say pseudo. There's actual archaeological theories behind it. But a lot of them I find to be bullshit. But that's for another video.
Yeah, that's for another thing. But Joe Rogan, he really doesn't have the expertise. He's interested. I love the conversations. I like free
And he's
speech.
a good thinker. I'll give Joe that. He can think well, but sometimes he buys into shit because it sounds fun. It sounds fantastical.
I love free speech. I love talking about things. But this is me responding to, I also have the right to say,
good old Sibrel.
You're a lying grifter who had to propagate this lie your whole adult life in order to make money off of saying the moon landing was fake after Apollo did how many missions? 6 missions to the moon?
I think it was 6, yeah, because it was 11 through 17.
They did,
but
they
13 never got to land.
They did 6 missions to the moon. 2 people per mission landed on the moon. There was also a third person that was the pilot that used to have to orbit the moon and literally have to withstand the dark side of the moon alone in a spacecraft and wait for when they would wait to catch the 2 astronauts leaving orbit. It was a very hard thing. The point is, it was dangerous. They risked their lives. You know what you should do? Go watch interviews of actual astronauts talking about that experience. There's even astronauts answering like moon, like conspiracy questions and stuff. And you tell me in your gut that you think these people are lying. So the fact that this guy has made a grift on this, it kind of pisses me off. But anyway.
For a little ending for you, I'm just going to say this much. First of all, what do you guys think? Do you think me and Greg are correct in this? Or do you think Bart Sibrel is correct in this? Do you think it's fact? Do you think it's Fugazi? I am going to say one final thing, though. Did you ever hear about the time that somebody went up to Buzz Aldrin and questioned him and said, you guys didn't go to the moon, and Buzz Aldrin punched him in the face? Bart Sibrel.
I wish I could punch him in the face as well. I know you do. I would give such a strong punch. You should have seen me on WWE. I gave Vince McMahon such a punch, and he went down hard. Some people say they heard it from down the street. The fans were screaming. It was the greatest moment in WWE history. I am in the Hall of Fame, and I wish I could punch Bart Sibrel in the nose. Bop. You're fired.